Good morning. My name is Matt Hall, and today we are talking about the 7 traditions in the field of communication theory. The 7 traditions include Sociopsychological Tradition, Cybernetic Tradition, Rhetorical Tradition, Somatic Tradition, Sociocultural Tradition, Critical Tradition, and Phenomenological Tradition. So in short, today I'm going to describe each of the 7. The Sociopsychological Tradition, according to my understanding, is one where experts in this field believe that communication truth can be discovered by careful, systematic observation. The goal of this theory is to ask the question, how can I get others to change? Of course, I am citing and using our textbook, so this comes from Griffin in the publication on 2012. The very next tradition that follows it is the cybernetic tradition. The cybernetic tradition simply states communication is the link connecting the separate parts of the system. Like a computer system or a family system, communication is how information is exchanged and how we grow closer together. Questions these theorists are trying to answer are, how does the system work together? What could change it? And how can we get the bugs out to work better? This also comes from the textbook, Griffin's writings in 2012. The next tradition we go to is the rhetorical tradition. This is personally my favorite tradition. In this, we see people use this theory, and the ones that subscribe to it, they focus on storytelling and building relationships with the audience. The speaker's goal is to persuade the audience to change their actions, according to Griffin in our textbook published in 2012. I personally enjoy this tradition because I am naturally a storyteller, and I retain and exchange information better with the rhetorical tradition. Next, we'll move on to the Somatic tradition. This is the tradition of studying signs and how they are used. A sign is anything that can stand for something else, whether that be the road signs we use, or a tattoo, or even a logo of your favorite team. It stands for more than just the words that are described to it. In this tradition, words and gestures are both used as signs to communicate. The focus here is to look at the ways different signs or words can mean different things to different people. That is according to Griffin in 2012 as well. A great example of that is the peace symbol. In America, that is a very accepted, understood term. Somewhere else, that might not be as widely accepted or even offensive in some countries. Moving on, the next system we are looking at is the sociocultural system. This tradition, the core idea of this theory is that people talk, and when they talk, they create culture. Theorists here say that reality is shaped by the language we've used since we were children. Relationships are made and changed through communication, according to Griffin. A great example of this is my grandmother always called the area in which she lived the holler. Now, if you go 20 miles down the road, that has a completely different idea and communicates a completely different landform than her area that she grew up in. And of course, if you go into a city and say, oh, I holler, people think you're just shouting. So it can change based on cultural and different traditions. So it's shaped by the social parameters of the culture. The next tradition we go to is the critical tradition. The critical tradition in this theory is one that is founded on the idea of what they are against instead of for. This puts it at opposition to the other 7 theories we are looking at today. They have 3 primary focuses, which are the control of language to persuade power and balance, how people use language to say this is wrong and things should change. The role of mass media in dulling sensitivity to repression. This is where they just look at how large communicators try to shape the narrative of our culture through media, and the blind reliance on scientific method and uncritical acceptance of empirical findings. And this, they are simply talking about the fact that a great example that might be too broad is most of us understand science of electricity by the flick of a light switch. We don't actually think about how it gets to us, any of the things that go on our daily basis. And they want to expand that thinking to how we perceive all science and all information. And this is according to Griffin in our textbook in 2012. The goal of this theory is to make people aware of unjust discourse in hopes that awareness leads to change. And then finally, the last theory we are looking at is the phenomenological tradition. In this tradition, the focus here is on people's perception and their interpretation of their existences. The story is more important than research or axioms. Researchers ask, what is so hard? Why is it so hard to establish and sustain authentic human relationship? And how can this problem be overcome? According to Griffin's textbook in 2012. Why is it so hard to establish and sustain human relationships? Friends, I know I didn't go into great detail of this, but these are the 7 traditions as I understand them in the field of communication theory. And with these, we begin to outline the whole picture when it comes to humans and how we communicate. But this is not the whole picture. George Fox says that all models are wrong, but some are useful. Thanks for being with me today.